So my talk today is about healthier habits and healthier lives. And I think that this is a really important theme that we can actually hope to a little bit on, and I hope that we will share some useful tips for everybody. I don't declare any conflict of interest in this talk. Okay, just to do a bit of an icebreaker, can I just get a bit of a show of hands, right? How many of you exercise moderately at moderate intensity at least 30 minutes 5 times a week or even more in the last 2 months as recommended by Health Promotion Board? Okay, you don't raise your hand first, okay? When I say moderate intensity, light intensity means you can talk and you can sing. Okay, moderate intensity means that you can probably speak in phrases, but you can't sing. And of course, if it's intense, vigorous, then of course you can barely speak, right? Okay, so moderate intensity, rate of perceived exertion, 150 minutes divided into different parts. The last 2 months as recommended by Health Promotion Board. Don't be shy, I know some of you all look quite fit. So, okay, we have at least a handful, that's very good. Okay, second question. How many of you actually take 2 portions of fruits and vegetables? I eat 2 fruits, 2 vegetables every day, okay? Or more, the diet every day for the last 2 months. What, more people now? More than double, I think now. I'll say more here. Okay, third question. How many of you sleep at least 7 to 8 hours a day, every day for the last 2 months? You can just average it. Sometimes you sleep 8, sometimes you sleep around 7 to 8 hours. Okay, just almost as much as the earlier one. I'm actually quite impressed with you guys. You all can go home early actually. No need to come on top. Okay, another poll. Okay, anyway, you'll find that all habits take time to develop, right? Good habits as well as bad habits. And there are actually people who do these things, all these things regularly. Okay? Okay, part 2. Second poll, second set of polls. How many of you will allow your young kids, if you're one, to watch TV or screen time until 2 in the morning every day? Am I? Hope nobody raised their hands. No, I saw one mistake. Okay, question 2. How many of you will allow your young kids to drink alcohol or smoke? Okay, we are getting dangerous now. Legal age of smoking is what? 21, is it? And drinking is what? 18 or something like that? 18. Okay, no hands up. What also don't raise now, huh? Okay, third question. It's not working out. How many will allow the young kids to take illegal drugs? Marijuana, cannabis, cocaine. Okay, then police will stand by or behind. Those will raise the hand straight away. DHL to the police station. Okay. Why don't we do these things? I mean, do these rules no longer apply to us adults? I mean, having these kind of healthy habits. The truth is, these behaviors actually form habits, and good habits are good not only to children, but also to adults. And many of you, you tell your children, right? Okay, you must sleep early, 早睡早起身体好, right? And then you tell your children to everything from studying hard, these are all habits that they form. So that when they grow up, they are actually used to these type of habits and they don't differ far from it, right? But then they look at you, hey, how come daddy smoking? They say, my daddy is different than your children just follow what I say because I'm your father. Okay, but the reality is that children actually don't do what you say, they do what they see you doing. Right? Those of you who are parents, don't know whether you agree with that. Okay. Another popular saying, you are what you eat. Is that true? Have you heard of this saying? Any of you all? No. Okay. So it originally appeared in 1826. Jean Antoine Villette wrote. He's a French lawyer, very smart guy, politician, famous gastronomist. He actually loves food. You guys are Singaporeans, Okay, he wrote, any French people here, just in case I offend you with my bad French. So he said something along the line, dimanche et dimanche, je prie to vegetables. I say wrongly, you say don't know, right? Okay, but anyway, it means, tell me what you eat and I will tell you what you are. Okay, very close to you are what you eat, right? Okay, in many ways, the phrase is actually true. Okay, as when we eat unhealthily, we also gradually become more unhealthy, and accumulated over time may even develop chronic diseases. Right? You know about diabetes, you know about high blood pressure, dyslipidemia is high cholesterol, and obesity. So, having said that, then should we all go on a diet? Actually, I don't like the word diet because you notice that diet has the word DIE inside. So everybody go on diet, like, I want to monkey, I want to do diet, I want to stress, right? Every time I send my patients to the dietitian, I say, oh, jala. The dietitians all sweet young things, I cannot eat like them, they're so slim and healthy. Okay? So what's wrong with going on a diet? Okay, have you heard of the dangers of a fat diet? Okay, I call it bracket fat diet because you know why? Every time you go on a fat diet, after a while you put back more weight, right? Like one step forward, two steps back. Okay, it's a quick fix. So these are some of the characteristics of a fat diet. So essentially, if you look in the middle, the trendy dietary pattern known to be a quick fix for long-term problems. So if you look at it carefully, let's start on the very top. You may have missing food groups there. So for example, they tell you, okay, you heard of this, let's go low carb or no carb Atkins diet, right? Then it's like, you miss major food groups. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say, and that actually will create some problems. It's nutritionally inadequate, it promotes short-term changes, there's maintenance issue, meaning that you may be able to do it for 3 months, maybe even 6 months, for example, but you cannot do it for the rest of your life. Sometimes not even 1 year, right? To talk about the rest of your life. Okay, it's detrimental for those with chronic diseases. It can actually be dangerous for some conditions. There's inconsistent scientific evidence. It's not evidence-based, and it's not strong enough evidence-based. It will lead to rapid weight loss. That's what the selling point is, right? You need weight loss. And the thing that you all want to hear, absence of physical activity. No need to exercise, you will lose weight, right? Okay, so is it possible to have food or meals which are healthy, balanced, and yet delicious? Have you all heard of the healthy plate concept, any of you? You look up your health hub, you probably can see. So I won't talk too much about it because I think you have dietitians up there, so they tell you more. But essentially, the healthy plate, as you can see on my right and your right also, is that the right side, or half the plate should be filled up with mainly vegetables, fruits. And then the other quarter is made up of healthy protein and healthy carb or whole grains, for example. So, is it possible to enjoy? This is the question I always ask, my patients. Is it possible to enjoy the food itself? Like eating carb and eating onion, cereal, like that, oats, right? And must be able to be rich or affordable, people to afford healthy, good food. In this example of the healthy plate, there are many more. I just pluck out one more than one Chinese one, right? So the left side is the more stuff. On the right, you have all these vegetables and fruit, strawberries. You have the chicken breast. You have some whole grain bottom left. And then on the right hand side, more Asian, right? You have brown rice, fish, and 2 types of vegetables, for example. Actually, that's what I eat most of the time for lunch. Okay, so what is a habit? Okay, so there are many definitions of a habit, but I like this definition. It says a habit is a routine of behavior that is repeated regularly and tends to occur subconsciously. So, for example, for some of you may identify with it, you may be biting your nails when you're nervous. You open a bag of potato chips when you're about to start watching TV. Some of you who are lucky enough or blessed enough to have can take a nap on siesta after lunch, after eating a nice heavy lunch. Picking up your handphone to scroll through social media or go online shopping, right? When you're bored. So these are habits. If you do it regularly, after a while, it's automatic. Okay, how are these habits formed? We're talking about habits today, right? So it's because of this wonder drug called dopamine. So it's a neurotransmitter. It's our brain's reward chemical. Our sensory nervous system is wired for actions, things that you do, that will deliver this pleasure drug to you. So the behavior that brings on a reward for example, the brain will build this connection between that behavior and the pleasure that you get, and then you feel very good because of the reward, right? Okay, and if you repeat it over and over again, it will fuse the connection into the brain, and that's why you form a habit. So if you look at the picture on the right, which I will elaborate more in a short while, you have a cue, could be anything, and then it will lead to an action, becomes a routine, and then you get the reward because of the action, and then a habit is formed if it's done over and over again. Okay, let's give you some example. But before that, let's share something funny. Huh? So why is it difficult to break a habit? Just like the word dietitian has diet inside, right? You see, you have habit, right? You take away the H, you still got a bit. Huh? You take away the A, you still got that bit. And you take away that bit, you still have it. Okay, I think you guys will get it later. For those who are not laughing. Okay, there's this thing called a habit loop. Give an example of a good and bad habit. Let's start with the bad, unwanted habits. So the cue could be like, most of you, either you're working, most of you are retired, but whether you're studying or working, for example, let's say you want to have a break from your work, okay? Then what happens? The action could be, for those of you who do, they say, let's go outside for a break, let's have a cigarette, right? De-stress, right? And then the reward is, number one, you can actually get a break from your work. And number two, you actually get a nice nicotine boost. I'm losing you guys? Okay, yeah. The nice nicotine boost, right? So let's say if you turn it over the other way, it becomes a healthy or good demonstration, a positive demonstration. If you have the same problem, that cue, whereby you hit the wall with your work, you're feeling like blah, like that's sian. Okay, Singaporean will use the word sian, right? Okay, if you feel very sian, what am I going to do when I feel sian? Then you say, okay, instead of going outside for a cigarette, you say, maybe shall I go outside for a walk instead, feel the fresh, smell the fresh air, Or those people who don't want to exercise, you say, okay, maybe I'll just listen to my favorite podcast or my favorite relaxing classical music. So that's the action you choose. Bear in mind that you can choose this, right? You can choose to, beginning right from the start, to take a cigarette break or go for a walk, stroke, listen to music. And then the reward, again, with that feel-good factor, is the zing thing you get from the exercise, as in you feel great after you release another neurotransmitter called endorphins, okay, and dopamine, and then you feel more relaxed for those who use music, for example. Okay, this is the take-home message actually in many ways. When it comes to getting healthy, really don't underestimate the power of that one small thing that if repeated over and over again, that can change everything. And that's how we are talking about how habits are formed. So, i.e., what you do every day, your day-to-day is important, it adds up. Okay, let's talk a bit about chronic diseases and habits, right? So, are they related? All of us, I always get asked this question, you see, doctor, there's genetic and lifestyle, right? When you get a condition, right? You say, how much of it is my parents' fault? How much of it is my fault, right? So, are you fated to get diabetes if your parents have diabetes, for example? This is one common question that people number three, chronic respiratory conditions like chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, a lot of smokers get that, and asthma. And then, of course, number four is diabetes. It actually accounts for 80% of all premature and CD deaths. Okay, modifiable and non-modifiable risk factors. So again, I always share these implications, right? You can't change the fact that you are male, your age, what your mother and father give you, etc. But the good news is the modifier behavior risk factors, they play a bigger role. And these are things you can choose. You can choose whether you want to pick up smoking, tobacco, whether you want to be active or not, physically active. This is the top four, and harmful use of alcohol, as well as unhealthy diets. They all increase our risk of dying from CB. Okay, there are also metabolic risk factors, which is also attributed to the top cause. They contribute to the metabolic changes, which increase our risk of disease. So, for example, you all know this: your blood pressure, being overweight, high sugars, and high cholesterol. So I talked about from the CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and it actually says that how do we prevent chronic diseases, right? And really, just simply, sounds very common sense, but by making these healthy choices, you can reduce your likelihood of getting chronic disease and also improve your quality of life. And these are the statistics from America. So 6 in 10 adults in US have chronic disease, and 4 in 10 of these people actually have 2 or more. And see, these are some of the common conditions, including what I listed earlier on: heart disease, cancers, lung disease, strokes, Alzheimer's, chronic kidney disease, and diabetes. So they classify or define chronic disease as conditions that last 1 year or more, and they require ongoing medical attention, and they limit activities of daily living or even most. So, for example, we mentioned diabetes, cancer, heart diseases. They are the leading cause of death and disability in the US, and they are actually the leading driver of their nation's $4.1 trillion in healthcare costs. So back to the 4 things again: tobacco use, and also exposure to secondhand smoke. So some of you tell me, actually I don't smoke. Yeah, I think. I say, actually, my husband does. He's actually a smoker. So it does play a role. Poor nutrition. This is a big area which we'll discuss more in a bit. Includes diets low in fruits and vegetables, high in sodium, salt, saturated fats, physical inactivity, as well as excessive alcohol use that we mentioned already. The reality is actually most chronic diseases can be delayed, can be allayed, or even prevented through lifestyle changes. And the earlier you start doing that, the better it is. But it's never too late, right? That's all things in life. Okay, so there are quite a number of studies in my search for so-called EBM, evidence-based medicine, but I like this one that I saw. It's a prospective multi-cohort study. They have 160,000 participants over 15 years. And they studied the association between healthy lifestyle and disease-free years. And they found 4 profiles associated with the greatest disease-free years. And the first one is having a BMI of less than 25. And at least 2 or 3 factors: either you never smoked, you have physical activity, or you have moderate alcohol consumption. Okay, let's get back to our habits. Anyone knows how long does it take to form a good habit? Some of you already. I heard something. What was it? 30 days. Okay. Any other takers? 21 days. Are you one?
Depends good or bad habit.
Depends good or bad habits. Okay, very good. Okay, actually, all of you can be right. Actually, okay. It depends also on the habits, right? So if I ask you to drink a glass of water every morning when you wake up versus doing 50 push-ups or sit-ups after your morning coffee, which one is easier? Drink water. Okay. You all do that? Drink water every morning when you wake up, or after that go to pee, right? Okay. So when you board a plane or you get into a car, you automatically put on a seatbelt, right? That's like you don't even think about it or why you do it. But your brain actually likes these habits because it makes you very efficient, right? Good or bad. Okay. And the reality of it is, okay, how long does it take to form a habit? So actually I managed to search this, and there was a 2009 study published in the European Journal of Social Psychology that says, seems very broad, right? So all of you correct, right? 18 to 254 days. I think everybody got it correct. Nobody said 5 days, right? And nobody said 300 days, thank God. Okay, so the study concluded that on average it takes about 66 days, just over 2 months for new behavior to become automatic. Okay, I just want to have a moment to derail a bit. If I were to ask you to define your priorities in your life and to name the top 3 that's important to you, okay, anything in your life, it could be your health, your fitness, it could be your religion, your God, it could be your family, your daughter, your spouse, your finance, or even your career, for example, for those of you who are still working. What would you put as the top 3 in your life? When you got 3 slots, think about it. No need to give me the answer now. Okay. Okay. So, and then in contrast, where do you actually spend most of your time now? You realize from the first question I asked you, right? The top 3 that you name may not be the top 3 of where you put your time now, isn't it? So some of you, okay, maybe you say you're my spouse, my husband, and goes to the casino. So actually, he spends 50% of his time in the casino, right? So his top 3, in his life, he will be thinking my top 3 is my family, my health. Actually, the top 3 is actually the casino, right? So you will put whatever that's important to you in your life, you will float it up. Let it be a good habit or let it be a bad habit. That's the reality of it. You will make time for it. Some of you online shopping, suddenly 3 hours gone already, right? How did the time fly? Just like a holiday. How come 30 days finish so fast? My son always asks me, 30 days, 1 week already short already, but 30 days finish already. Felt like 2 days, my son told me. Okay, so where do you spend most of your time versus what are your top 3 priorities in life? So you may want to think a little bit about that. And do successful people actually have more time than you? Do they have, instead of 24 hours, do they have like 30 hours a day and you have only 24? You cheat, then you got 6 hours extra. Okay. And the reality, it also applies, that money no enough, I watch the Jack No movie, right? It actually applies to your financial health as well. Like, for example, you always hear about these people who finance about regular savings, right? So if you start, the earlier you start, the better, right? And then if you don't put anything inside, how to do withdrawal later on? Right? Withdraw empty account, is it? So it actually, in every area of your lives, it makes sense to do that. So it's same for health. When you invest these good habits, okay, you get good health, but good health also takes time. So it takes time to start these habits, and I hope that you guys will start something today. So we all join together and renovating. Okay, how many of you have read this book or at least heard of this book? The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Grove. Not bad, quite a lot of people. Okay, how many of you have read it? Okay, lesser people now. Okay, not bad, a handful still. Yeah, I confess I haven't read it. Okay, so you're all better than me, you see? So, but I thought it was interesting because I just take the first 3, right? Habit number 1, be proactive. You have to take responsibility for your life. Don't blame the government, blame your mother, blame your grandmother, blame everybody but yourself. Okay, number 1. Number 2, begin with the end in mind. Visualize who you are, okay, and what you want in your life. Because at the end of the day, that's important. That image, that mental image that you play to yourself is really important. Okay, and finally, put first things first. You have to prioritize because all of us have limited time. All of us are busy. I always tell my patient, from the road sweeper to the president of Singapore, nobody will tell you they're free. Right? so what are you going to do with your time, right? So you need to achieve the most important goals. Okay, so simplistically speaking, right, because we're talking about habits, you're made up of a bag, let's say, of good habits, a bag of bad habits. Okay, but how do you change these good habits or the bad habits to good habits so that the weighing scale goes up in the right direction? And I think the first step is that we need to be aware of those habits so you can develop those strategies to change them. Okay, this one, our gentleman there just now alluded to it. It's very true. Pleasure habits are more difficult to break, right? because this enjoyable behavior will prompt your brain to release this dopamine reward, will strengthen that habit, and it will create that craving to do it over and 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 over again, right? So it could be anything from gluttony, smoking, drinking, drugs, gambling, for the younger people, they play computer games. For the ladies, now more guys than ladies, I heard. Going online shopping, last time shopping more for girls, right? Now I heard more guys shop more than girls, right? Especially online now. Is it true? Okay. So some tips or strategies to overcome these habits. So number one, avoid situations where you're likely to be exposed to it. Yeah. So if you have a drinking problem, don't go and walk down the route that goes to the pub, your favorite pub, right? And then don't go and hang around with your buddies and say, hey, come just have a pint. Then the pint becomes 10 pints after 2 hours. You know, you want to replace perhaps a bad habit with a good one. And then the keyword is that it's acceptable to you. So for example, I do see quite a number of patients with diabetes, right? And then SSB stands for sugar sweetened beverages. So I always ask them, is there a possibility that you can replace that with something that is acceptable to you? Everybody don't go and drink Kuting Cha from Hainan, right? Maybe people don't like a bitter Kuting Cha, but can you do something else? And I normally ask them for answer rather than give them the answer. They say, hey, doctor, I can take Coke Zero or Coke Light, or I can take Oolong Cha, the cold one. Some people like cold drinks, right? I also like cold drinks. Some people don't condone that. Then, for example, green tea is my favorite, not the heaven and earth one, but the Diao that one. No? You can have it cold, you can have it hot, sure, right? I just had that just now before I came in. So it's not always easy, I acknowledge that. And don't be afraid to ask for help, friends, family. And more importantly, don't beat yourself over it if you don't succeed the first few times. Because it's really a journey. Actually, this talk should be given by a psychologist, not me. I just realized. Okay, I have only a few more slides before you all fall asleep. So, one is to talk about losing weight, chronic disease management, going plant-based. Okay, the literature has shown that this weight plant-based is, it's a very nutrient-dense kind of, for lack of a better word, diet. It's packed with fiber, there's healthy fats, good class proteins, vitamins, minerals, and actually it should meet all your nutritional needs. And more importantly, it's healthy. You should be decreasing the amount of processed foods, oils, animal foods, as well as refined carbs. And also, it's important also don't equate protein with meat. I always get this, every time I ask you with a healthy diet, then what's this meat? That's like, protein can be not meat, right? So, plant-based protein sources, everything from tofu, lentils, beans, nuts, seeds, quinoa. Okay, and then on top of that, these plant-based kind of diet choices, they're actually very cost-effective. It does help to control weight. So I share a little bit, if I may. I actually went on it 3 years ago and I actually lost more than 10 kilos. So those people who saw me say, I'm so fat. Those people who see me, they know that I was a bit more bui, right? So, and this was before I started exercising. So I don't really share that out into triathlons. Okay, so blood pressure, HbA1c, which is a marker of your diabetic control. It lowers the cholesterol as well as reduces the number of medications. So these are all evidence-based. It does reduce your cancer risk as well. Also heart diseases and death rates. These are all data that you can plug out, but I took it from one of the other journals. Okay, going plant-based, how do you start? It is a tricky part, right? I think it's important that, first of all, you realize that it is a mindset change. You start by raising the awareness of what it is first, because you don't want to be forced to do something that you don't like, right? And it does start with this habit change. So perfect platform for me to share this, right? Habits. Okay, so think of it actually more of a lifestyle change rather than a diet. Remember I talked about diet, without diet, go run away, unless it's something that helps you. No need exercise, no need to eat whatever you want and be okay, let's go, But then the reality is, nobody likes the kind of diet. Okay, the other kind of diet, sorry. So it includes fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and legumes. It's actually quite different from vegetarian diet. I think our dietitians can share more with you about it. It's also different from a vegan diet just by going plant-based. You can eat poultry, meat, eggs, fish, dairy. However, they do recommend that most of your nutritional intake should come from plant-based sources. Okay, I'm finishing already. So I was told I only got half an hour, so how am I? Okay, a bit over, right? So last slide. So I just want to pose a challenge to you guys today, if you forget everything else. If you could choose two habits in your life right now over the last, or rather the next 6 months. It's just nice, right? 6 months over already, right? You realize, right? Time flies, right? January to June suddenly all over, right? So now you got 6 more months left, right? For 2023, right? And then we think that it takes about 66 days, about 2 months to well, make a break, change a habit, right? So you have 6 months, so if you have 2 habits, give you extra 1 month. Buy 2, get 1 free, right? So you think about 2 habits that you can sort of embark upon, choose. So choose wisely, right? And it can be very simple stuff, you know. I always tell my patients, very simple stuff. Like, you know, some of my patients tell me they take 3 in 1 every day, they take 3 in 1 coffee, you know. I wonder why the sugar is so high. It's 3 in 1 coffee, you got coffee, yes, but sugar content very high, fat content also very high, right? So I say, can you try something else? And they say, oh, yeah, actually, I don't mind going taking black coffee, no sugar, or coffee. Instead of coffee, the usual coffee, the coffee cow, you know, siu, time. You know, it's such a word. You know why? Because it 5 teaspoons of sugar, right? Or condensed milk, right? So it's like the siu, that means like 1 teaspoon. Okay. So instead of char bee hoon for breakfast, I know somebody eat char bee hoon every day, right? At least among 80% of my diabetic patients eat char bee hoon every day. No, seriously. My goodness, it's like if I eat it every day, I'll vomit, man. And I like char bee hoon, by the way, but I cannot eat it every day. Okay, so can you try healthier options? Okay, for example, you may have a whole grain toast, and or you can have this, the dietitian's favorite breakfast, overnight oats. I read this, it's a dietitian's favorite. I read more, but it's their favorite food. I read everywhere, am I correct? Dietitian, I see everywhere, overnight oats. Okay, never mind. You'll find out what this is. Okay, then finally, okay, like for example, this is what we're talking about, right? Going plant-based, right? Can you try a plant-based alternative for lunch once a week or even twice a week? So, for example, you have this movement going on, right? Meatless Monday, for example. So maybe every Monday you instead of having your steak or your you know, you always point, right? 2 meat, 1 vegetable. Maybe you can have 3 vegetables. And the protein is like maybe a tofu or mushrooms or a legume or, you know, our pork or whatever, you know. So it's actually quite doable, right? Yeah, so we can try that. Okay. And then if you currently eat all 3 meals outside now, so quite a number of my patients actually eat all 3 meals outside. So you say, can you try the 1 meal at home? For example. Okay, if you're currently not very active, you're sedentary, maybe only 10,000 steps, right? Maybe 3,000, let's start with 3,000. So what I'm trying to say is, you get the drift, right? It's just starting with small, gentle steps. It's like some guy, you know, going to the gym and see a lot of people, do a lot of push-ups and sit-ups, and then next 3 days cannot walk, right? So you don't need that, you just need to start the gentle, simple thing, the small steps, so that you can come back and fight another day. Tomorrow you can do this again. But this was so easy, I could have done it for the whole week. That kind of feeling you must have. Start slow, start gently, start something that you can do, it's doable. And of course, if you happen to mess it up, don't worry about it because you can live through it another day. So healthy habits, healthy lives. So I just want to encourage you to start changing your habits and then also hence change your lives this way slowly. And we can actually make all these small changes, which are acceptable ones for ourselves. They're sustainable, that means you can do it in the long run rather than just only for a few weeks or months. And then you can start experiencing these benefits and what these good habits can bring to your lives. Okay, so, and most importantly, we can actually enjoy it too. And you'll notice that when it becomes part of you, it's acceptable to you, it's actually not even a torture. You're actually not, it's like saying that you hate doing it because, you know, you don't like it, but you do it because it's healthy. That's not what we want, basically. Okay, so thank you for your kind attention. Quick questions.
So from that angle, we're talking now, we hope that you have got a good perspective from Dr. Anthony about health in general, about how it's important to look at prevention of health, chronic diseases, a bit of a plan forward, and you also have an idea. Okay, hopefully you are more empowered to go around and tell people, more confident that plan forward is the way to go, whether it's a TCM version or Dr. Serene will going to tell you about the American Amor version, okay, about the chronic disease part. So now we're going to introduce Serene. Serene Tan is our dietitian from Phu Phet Hospital. She graduated from Queensland University of Technology in Australia and has got a Bachelor of Nutrition and Dietetics. She's also a Singapore Nutrition Dietetic Association accredited dietitian, and she's joined our hospital since 2021 during the COVID time. So she has to fly back to Singapore. So we're very grateful that she can come and share with us about the vegetarian diet and about the power of plants fighting chronic diseases, embracing longevity. We have no better qualified dietitian than Serene to actually talk about it because she's a practicing vegan. Okay, so she will probably share with her slides also what the veganism is and all this about her, and she's really on the top practical ways. She's walked the talk also in vegetarian diets, and she's very good at cooking, baking things without eggs and dairy products. Okay, so we'll let Serene take it.
So much, Gladys, for the kind introduction. Okay, let me just. Yeah, so I think I don't need to explain a bit more about myself already since Gladys has done the work. So I've been vegan for coming to 10 years now. So I'm really happy to be sharing with you why Plant Forward is the way forward and some practical tips and strategies on how it can be sustainable for yourself and also for the environment. So today I'll be covering on what is a plant-based diet, benefits of a plant-based diet on chronic disease and longevity, power up with plant protein, and if plant-based diets are the answer to future sustainability. So I think Dr. Anthony and Ms. Sukiat has already shared more or less on what is a plant-based diet. So in a nutshell, there are varying degrees of plant-based diet. So from the semi-vegetarian to the vegan and whole food plant-based. So some of them, for the flexitarians, there's some seafood and meat and fish, but then all the way down to the vegan and whole food plant-based, there's no animal products including dairy and eggs. So what we want to focus on today is the whole food plant-based diet, which, as mentioned, avoids processed foods. So can I just get a show of hands? Anyone here is on a plant-based diet or vegetarians? Not so many, okay. We have no here. Okay, so why do people go plant-based? So there are these four main reasons: the health, environment, religion, and also animal rights. So we'll be focusing on the health and the environment today. Okay. Then, so as Gladys mentioned, it's very in line with our government initiatives for healthier SG, where we want to empower ourselves with the knowledge and the tools to improve our health. Okay, so Dr. Anthony showed us now the My Healthy Plate, and then Ms. Sukiat also shared a similar version of a whole food plant-based diet plate. So where the plant proteins are replacing the meat and the other segment of the My Healthy Plate. So the main concerns regarding the whole food plant-based diet, the main top 4 points is to choose whole foods, no refined sugar, less salt, and no added oils. Okay, so comparing the previous two plates, the My Healthy Plate and the whole food plant-based plate, to our standard Singaporean diet, so do you see that there's quite a large difference? Yeah, okay, so the standard Singaporean diet, you can see like there's very little vegetables, it's quite high in fat, high in salt, and also quite high in sugar and refined grains. So as Dr. Anthony mentioned, that's why there's a higher prevalence of chronic disease like diabetes, hypertension, all these. So let's see how we can change that. So moving on to the benefits of a whole food plant-based diet, or as you can call it, WFPB. Okay, so for health benefits, first one is it's been shown to reduce type 2 diabetes risk by 34% in this study, and also other studies have shown that it can also reduce the risk of kidney disease by 14%. And then also whole food plant-based diets has been shown to reduce the risk of heart disease mortality by 19% and all-cause mortality risk by 11%. And also it can increase the risk as an increased protection against cancers, including female-specific cancers. So on the topic of cancer, it is actually the principal cause of death in Singapore. And with actually cancer has been shown by WHO to be, WHO has mentioned that processed meats causes cancer and red meats probably cause cancer. And also the risk of colorectal cancer is quite high with red meats and processed meats, with an increase of 18% of cancer risk, colorectal cancer risk per 50 grams of processed meat intake per day. So this 50 grams of processed meat is just like 2 slices of ham. Okay, so this is very important to take note of in our Singaporean context, because colorectal cancer is one of the top 2 most common cancers for men and women here in Singapore. Okay, in regards to longevity, so actually this study has shown that replacement of egg protein and red meat protein for plant protein reduce the risk of overall mortality by 10%, which is quite a large amount. Okay, and then also this modeling study has found that when you change to an optimized diet, you can increase your life expectancy by 10 years when you start at 20 years old, and you can increase your life expectancy by 8 years when you start at 60 years old. So it's not too late to start now. Huh? Okay, so when they say optimized diet, they mean an increase in intake of legumes, whole grains, and nuts, and reduction of red meats and processed meats. Okay, then so regarding cognition, so this study done in China has also found that whole food plant-based diets can be beneficial for managing your cognition by needing to focus on the healthy plant foods and avoid the unhealthy plant foods. So in this study, the unhealthy plant foods, they defined it as refined grains, including white bread, cakes, and also sugar and salt preserved vegetables, including like pickles and kimchi. Okay, and also some global studies has found that plant-based diets are protective against things like hip fracture, kidney failure, type 2 diabetes, and also cognitive impairment. Okay, then what about processed food? So at the start, I mentioned that whole food plant-based diets would eliminate processed foods. So on a scale of corn to corn chips, so corn chips are the highly processed foods which are lower in fiber, vitamins, minerals, and higher in saturated fat, sugar, and salt. So these highly processed foods, we also term them as ultra-processed foods. And some other examples of these foods include processed meats, fast food, mock meats, including like the traditional Chinese mock meats and the more modern plant-based meats, and also convenience foods like instant noodles, donuts, juice, and soft drinks. So the danger with ultra-processed foods is that it has been found to increase the risk of oral and ovarian cancer by up to 30%. And it can also increase the risk of type 2 diabetes by 40%, with just 50 grams of ultra-processed food intake per day. So here is a summary of the health benefits of whole food plant-based diets. So it can also help with weight management, as Dr. Anthony mentioned that he lost quite a lot of weight. So because whole food plant-based diets tend to be less energy dense but more nutrient rich. Okay, so next I want to share with you about what are the plant proteins to look out for. So you can see on the screen there is two different types of meals. So from the left to the right, can you tell that there is a difference? Yeah? Anyone can tell me what is the difference? There is this one particular ingredient that's the difference. Processed food, yes, correct, the mock meats. Yes, so they are all vegetarian or plant-based meals here, but the meals on the right are with mock meats. Okay, so with mock meats, it's okay for you to take a small amount in the interim when you are transitioning from like your normal meat-based diet to a more plant-based diet, but they should not be the mainstay of the diet because they are ultra-processed foods. Okay, so when you cut down the meat and the mock meat, so we recommend for you to take more beans, tofu, nuts, seeds. So these top four items here, the beans, tofu, edamame, and tempeh, they are in the legumes category, and then below the nuts and seeds, they are all good sources of plant-based protein. So then what about mushrooms? Can anyone tell me, are they a good source of protein? Okay, so actually for mushrooms, they are not really a good source of protein, although you can make it such that it tastes quite meaty, but it's best to still rely on the legumes and nuts and seeds for your protein source. So make sure that we are having enough plant protein. So studies have shown that with sufficient plant protein, you can reduce the risk of sarcopenia, which is age-related muscle wasting, and also reduce the risk of frailty, which is the weakness that comes with aging. Okay, so with the healthy plate, you can swap out your meat and your fish for tofu or beans. And then we also have this postcard, you can get it from the back later if you want. So how much protein is enough? So for older adults, you will need more protein, and 1 in 2 older adults actually do not meet their protein requirements for their age in Singapore. So you can have a look at this table to calculate your protein needs, but as a general guide, it is 2 to 3 servings per day for adults and 3 to 4 servings per day for older adults, where 1 serving is 20 to 25 grams of protein. Okay, so what does 1 serving of plant protein look like? So it is 1.5 box of silken tofu, or 3/4 to 1 large firm tofu or tau kwa, or 3/4 to 1 small cup of cooked beans or lentils. So nuts and seeds and peanut butter are also good sources of protein, but they are things to have in moderation because of their high fat content. And for peanut butter, make sure to choose the ones that are mostly the ingredients is just peanuts and salt, or it's just peanuts alone. So without the palm oils and the sugars. So just showing you a sample meal plan. So for breakfast, you can have some peanut butter on the bread with a cup of soy milk. And for lunch, you can fry some rice with some tau kwa and minimal oil. And then also afternoon snack, you can have some nuts. And then for dinner, in your pasta, can have some lentils, like a lentil bolognese. Okay, then so we're following the healthy plate. So there's the fruits, the meals, and also adequate vegetables. So this day will provide about 65 grams of protein. Okay, so I think you all might have some questions, but we address the list first. So in regards to plant-based diets and gout, I think it's quite a common misconception that plant-based diets or like high soy intake can cause gout. So this study done, the Tutsi Health study and vegetarian study, has shown that Taiwanese vegetarian diet, which is high in soy, is associated with a lower risk of gout, and also it can lower the gout risk. Okay, so the mechanisms of how this is happening is that without the purine-rich meat and seafood, it can reduce the uric acid production, And due to the higher alkalinity, it can also increase the uric acid excretion. And with a lower saturated fat, higher unsaturated fat, and increased phytochemical rich plant foods, this can reduce the inflammation. Okay, so, and then there's also a local study done through the Singapore Chinese Health Study. They also found that soy and non-soy legumes, so like other beans, were associated with a reduced risk of gout. Then also that poultry, meat, and shellfish were associated with an increased risk of gout. Okay, so what if you already have gout? So apart from minimizing like organ meats and your trigger foods and also certain seafoods, it's important to make sure that you lose weight if you are overweight or obese through healthy diet and exercise. And also to avoid alcohol and also sugar-sweetened drinks and juices because they increase uric levels and uric acid buildup. And then also making sure to drink sufficient fluids. Okay, so for us women, do we need to be concerned about eating too much soy? So actually, the thing is that soy can reduce the risk of breast cancer with about 10 mg of soy isoflavones per day. And soy isoflavones are somewhat like a plant-based estrogen. So 10 milligrams is found in about 1 standard serving of tofu. Okay, so will plant-based diets lead to a lack of nutrition? So actually studies have shown that plant-based diets, you can meet, well, if you have a well-planned plant-based diet, you can meet your needs for iron, folate, magnesium, and B vitamins, and definitely vitamin C. But the thing is, you need to take note of vitamin B12. So vitamin B12, the thing is that it's only found in, synthesized by microorganisms, so it's not found in plant foods. It's generated by in the intestines of the animals. So this is very important for red blood cell formation, neurological function, and also DNA synthesis. So if you're on a 100% plant-based diet, you need to really take note of this because the symptoms will be like memory loss, anemia, muscle weakness, tiredness, and fatigue. So per day, vitamin B12 recommendation is 2.4 micrograms for most people. Then you can meet it through taking fortified foods like oat milk, nutritional yeast, or taking a daily or weekly vitamin B12 supplement. And then the thing with older adults is that regardless of your diet, whether you're on plant-based diet, vegetarian diet, or just a regular meat-based diet, it may also have vitamin B12 deficiency due to a lack of absorption in your intestines. So if your doctor recommends you to take a B12 supplement, please follow his recommendation. Okay. Then also regarding sustainability, so as I mentioned, some people do go for a plant-based diet when they are concerned about the environment, sustainability. And the thing with carbon footprint is that, so carbon footprint is the measure of the greenhouse gases that is being released. And you can see that for animal-based foods like the red meats, even cheese, the carbon footprint tends to be much higher than the plant-based foods. And in Singapore, so red meat represents 11% of consumption per person by weight yearly, but contribute to 40% of Singapore's greenhouse gas emissions. And then also for water footprint, so it's a similar trend. You can see that the animal-based foods tend to use more water than the plant-based foods. And so converting to plant-based eating can save about 180 liters per person per day. So you can see that through plant-based diets with less meat, you can use less natural resources and increase the chance of us having a sustainable planet for future generations. Okay, so how can we move plant forward? So as Dr. Anthony mentioned, it's about changing your habits, one small step at a time. So we understand that it can be quite difficult to move from a predominantly meat-based diet to a whole food plant-based diet. So you can start with things like Meatless Monday, where you incorporate 1 to 2 plant-based meals into your weekly routine. And then going down the road, you can move towards a plant-forward vegetarian diet, which is a vegetarian diet that limits the processed foods, but also focuses on the plant foods with some dairy and eggs for culinary purposes. So it's best if you can focus on whole foods for the most nutritional benefits, and also explore plant-based proteins. So later we'll be releasing our ebook, and also we also have the cooking demos running later, so stay tuned for that. And then also, if you have any questions, you can seek guidance from a nutritionist or dietitian when you encounter any challenges. Okay, so between nutritionists and dietitians, who should we be looking for? So for dietitians, you are mostly in healthcare institutions. We treat like conditions like diabetes, high blood cholesterol. Then for nutritionists, they tend to promote health to the general healthy population. Okay, so what is important when you are looking for a dietitian or a nutritionist is that you check that they have the sufficient qualifications like a degree in nutrition or dietetics, instead of just like a certificate from a 3-day course. Then also you can check the SNDA, Singapore Nutrition and Dietetics Association website for the list of accredited nutritionists and dietitians. Okay, so in summary, the main points are to choose whole foods, avoid processed foods, making sure that you have adequate protein intake, and also to start with small sustainable changes. Okay, so later during the cooking demo, I'll be sharing a bit more on some practical tips for eating out and cooking at home. Okay, then that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. We're running quite good timing. Okay, so what we'll do now, just to give a quick summary again. So Dr. Anthony has spoken about Healthy SG. We have a TCM certificate that talked about the TCM aspect. And we also have Serene that's spoken about the plant forward and how it's very difficult. It's actually very difficult to have a whole food plant-based diet, but ultimately evidence-based is towards that direction. So people are asking, say, so today hospital, I want to go vegetarian. Sure, got people ask. Okay, no, we are not. Because remember, we are illness hospital. So people come to our hospital to eat other sick ones. So it's a community that's a healthy ones that is scared to be sick, to really go towards plant-based, whole food plant-based, so that you can move in that health direction. So it cannot be used the trendy word called plants forward. Okay? Take a little bit of meat is okay. Take a little bit of egg and dairy products is okay, but primarily try to go into whole food plant-based, but minimizing your processed foods as well. Does that mean that we are anti impossible meat, beyond meat? No. Is those products are really available for those who are meat eaters that want to interim towards a healthier diet, cannot go the mouthfeel, the taste, the look of blood, you know, that kind of thing. So those are products that's available as the interim period. But if you're already a convinced vegetarian, then these foods may you can save your money on this kind of food. You buy more fruits and vegetables instead, and whole grains as well as chickpeas, walnuts, all this. Right? Okay, so we're going to take a break now, a toilet break. The toilets are on this side. Okay, and meanwhile, we are going to set up the booths in order for the cooking demos. There will still be another hour of activity later on. But if you need to talk to the dietitians to have some discussion point, all those that's wearing this t-shirt are dietitians. But there is also a group of them down there at the back. We want to thank Temasek Poly. We've got 3 students here helping us to man the booth. They are attached to our hospital. So thank you for them for spending their time here with us. We also have Yishun Health with the population health, they have a booth down there as well, and it's also promoting their cause that's there. So please go around and have a look first while we set up the booth, and there are games you can play, got goodies also, if you answer the right questions right now. Also, just do that for a while, go toilet break. You'll take 20 minutes or 15 minutes. Once choose here, rings the bell, and comes here, you must come back and sit down. All right? Thank you very much.
We are having a Q&A session, so can I invite the speakers to the 3 chairs here? 有一点 feedback. Okay. Feedback, testing. Okay. Come. Where's Dr. Anthony? Dr. Anthony, I need you to go to the front, please. Hui Ru, another day, Yiru. Over there, please. So you're okay down here because we're going to sort of move in that direction. Yeah, then more closer. Do you want to sit on the other side? Because the speaker is going to be on that side. Remember, because this is also online, so we have to think about how visually, that's why there's a sit at the corner, so the angle camera go this way on the webinar screen. I think the link is available later on, right, for them to repeat. Yeah, so you don't really need to take video. Yeah, because you can look at the link later and learn from it. Okay, thank you very much for coming back. So I'm Gladys, Senior Principal Dietitian, Khoo Teck Puat Hospital. Any questions for the speakers first from the audience? Any questions? Wow, it means that you did so well that they got no questions to ask. Yes, sir, madam. Wait, let me get the microphone, probably easier. Hi.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to know more about eating fruits for the average people. That means we are recommended to have 2 portions of fruits daily, right? How about the recommendation for diabetes patients?
Okay, I think we'll ask Dr. Anthony to answer this question because Dr. Anthony would always have patients ask him this question.
I thought this anything to do with food, I thought was a dietitian's territory. So your question is regards to fruits in the patients with diabetes, is that correct? Okay. So unfortunately, fruits has also fruit sugar. So also always tell my patients, it doesn't mean that you can't eat it. So if they have to choose between having Coca-Cola or fruits, of course it's healthier and more natural to choose fruits. The other way is I also think about, you want to get the benefits of the fruits and the vegetables without getting the sugar load, right? So we all need, at the end of the day, in my slide I showed that there is a need for macronutrients and micronutrients in our diet. So macronutrients are like, for example, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and the micronutrients are like things like, your minerals, your vitamins, your trace elements that we all need as well. So it's no different for patients with diabetes as well. So for example, that's why I say some of the diets can be very dangerous. So if you tell the diabetic patient, don't take carbs, then what if they take medications and they go into hypoglycemia, for example? That's dangerous, right? But all things are not created equally. So if you choose, let's say, carbohydrate, if I say you take, just get an example, right? If you take a bowl of white rice, it's also carbohydrate, right? You take a bowl of tiramisu dessert, it's also carbohydrate, right? It's sugars, right? You take a bowl of brown rice, it's also carbohydrate. So they are not created equal. So you always choose the healthier option
You know, I always joke with my patient. I say, if I give you a choice right now, I'm going to give you a car, and you can choose between a Lamborghini and Toyota. Which one will you choose? Toyota. Okay. Wait, who said that actually? Why? Okay. See, I have always got patients like that who tell me that, you know. So I say, oh, you're very selfish, you know. You should just get the Lamborghini, then sell it and buy 4 Toyotas and give away 3. So they say, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. You know, so all cars are different, right? Cars are different, or cups are the same. You can always choose. Same thing as protein, no? You can choose a healthier protein. So if you take KFC versus, for example, a plant-based protein, no? Which they're both protein, but one is obviously healthier than the other. So back to your question about fruits. If you don't want to sugar load yourself, you want to choose the healthier carbs, but at the same time, you can space out those carbs over the course of the day. So for example, if you have your 3 main meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, for example, and you already have your carb limits, then if you didn't put that fruit into your, for example, your lunch could be 2 vegetables, you know, the healthy plate, right? 2 vegetables, you have your protein, and then you have your, how do you call that? So what vegetables, and then your protein, and then your carb, right? So most of the time we don't have to plan for fats, there's already there, right? So you have already, say, fulfilled those goals, right, in terms of the food groups. Then maybe your fruit can be a snack rather than having curry puff, you know, or could be kueh kueh, could be keropok, could be chips, could be, you get the idea, like chocolates, whatever. So you can use that as a platform in that sense. Of course, you can also choose it to over one of the vegetable portions in that sense. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, maybe now we ask Serene, you got anything to add on to what Dr. Anthony has said about this question?
Well, I agree with what Dr. Anthony says. So also needs to have the 2 serving of fruits per day for people with diabetes. So you can just spread it away from your meal if you're concerned about the blood sugar spikes.
Yeah, just don't take the fruit after your dinner, after your lunch. Just leave about 2 hours in between.
Yeah, all fruits are also not created equal. Durian is a special place.
Okay, another question? Anybody? Yes, there's 2. Okay.
Actually, I don't have questions. My name is Peter. I'm an existing diabetes, hypertension, all the 好朋友我都有啦. Okay, but to me, we shouldn't deprive ourselves from being contented and a life fulfillment. Okay, I never say always cannot eat this, cannot eat that. The magic word here is, to me, moderation. Okay, eat in moderation. Doesn't mean I cannot drink Coca-Cola. I do. Okay, but I don't drink it every day. Okay, low class people like me, I drink it when buffet free Coca-Cola I drink. Okay, and last month before I go to visit my doctor in Poly, I told my wife, "Oh, Chan now, this month this is quarter, Caesarea opened their 290 free flow of drinks. We went a lot of times. Okay." Surprisingly, the test come back, actually dropped. My blood sugar dropped, even though we went Caesarea a lot of time. Because other times, my main drink is 2 liters of water after every meal. Okay, my main drinks is actually water. Okay, but I don't deprive myself from the joy of food. Okay, whether it's plant-based or beef or whatever, I still eat everything, as long as it's balanced. Okay, that's my view. I may be the enemy of doctors or dietitians, I know. Okay, but to me, self-contentment to me is most important. That is my life principle. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, for the answer. Just to have a little bit of disclaimer, just at a professional level, a lot of people turn up in our hospital after Chinese New Year, after the first 3 days. Why? Because the word is excessive. Okay, so you can take as a balanced diet, but not in excessive. So if you have a lot of freebie buffets every day, that is considered excessive. Just be careful. Like what Tzu Kiat say, right? What's the word now? No, the 成语人而
因人而异。
因人而异. Okay, right, personalized. Okay, right. This
Yeah, related to the previous question, I just want to, understand from doctor as well as a dietitian. Can we go from the GI perspective? Like for example, I understand that both durian and pineapple, they are fruits. But I know that many diabetes, they actually ate durian because the GI is lower, right? So yeah, just want to hear from you, if let's say from this perspective, what is your advice? Thank you.
Okay, so the GI concept, actually we don't really use it in our hospital, but it's important to note that the GI is affected by other components of that meal itself. So let's say you have durian with coconut rice, let's say, then also the GI will be lower due to the coconut, the fat content. So actually it's important if you want to eat, okay, so in regards to GI, right, although there's the glycemic index, there's also the glycemic load, which is the amount that you're eating. So if you want to eat durian, the recommended serving is roughly about 2 seeds, but maybe you won't stop at 2 seeds, but as long as it's an occasional thing, yeah.
Okay, Dr. Anthony?
Yeah, that's true. There's the load as well. So there's quality as well as quantity that plays a role in it. I guess it's actually also, you have to realize for even with GI, glycemic index, it varies quite a lot, So you could have one item like potatoes, and actually how you cook it will also change its GI value. And I think like what Serene actually alluded to as well, it's also what you pair it with. So for example, a lot of my patients says, I cannot eat brown rice, I eat already, I want to vomit, So I always tell them even if you add a little bit of brown rice to your white rice, you still get the benefit of that lower GI. And actually in reality, most of what we do is about habit formation. So that's why I was very happy when she gave me a talk on healthier habits and healthier lives, because you start by doing something small and it gradually increases, right? So I'll give you an example of salt. I think most of people don't realize it, but we actually have a huge high salt content in our diet. I mean, you ever try eating outside? If you eat at home, then you know. Some years back, I brought my wife to a fancy food Italian restaurant, and I ordered, the one, the squid ink one, that one. That's I ate it, first mouthful, I just ate salt, in my mouth, and I realized that something is wrong. So I actually called the chef out, says, your food not edible, and then they came out, can we everybody eat the same thing, everybody's happy. Then I realized that I'm the problem, because everybody is so used to eating such high salt content that that's normal already. So if everybody around you is fat, then you are actually abnormal because you are of healthy weight. You get what I'm trying to say? Yeah, so sometimes we need to know what our truths are in a sense. And so back to that story about the brown rice thing, if you eat with a little bit, right, tell me, even you start off with a sprinkle, like 1/5, for example, it still benefits you and it's acceptable to you. And you already start that habit that you can tolerate that brown rice. And then you slowly increase, rather than one shot force that bowl of brown rice down your throat and you cannot accept it. And then you say, okay, actually I'm allergic to brown rice because I can't eat it. But actually it's not true, you're not allergic to it, you just haven't sort of adapted to it, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. From angle of glycemic index is the AMOR version. Okay, AMOR version. Health Promotion Board made it very clear also that they do have this healthier choice with a low glycemic index because it helps to let the public understand how the blood sugars function in the bloodstream from per item food. But you don't eat bread, low glycemic bread by itself. You add things on it. So I think from a theory, that's why Serene is right. We don't really practice educating on glycemic index in the hospital because it is a very different ball game. Okay, people go healthy plate already, a lot of struggle, plan forward. So the glycemic index is really must graduate from a lot of different series before we even touch on it. Okay, but I'm interested to know from the TCM point. Durian can eat or not? Very draw on, right? Can please share with us?
因人而异。
Okay, usually those, of course, for example, this person has diabetes. Actually, durian has quite high, please correct if I'm wrong, very high sugar content and also
Fat content also.
fat content. Yeah, this is classified under 肥甘厚味. That means very jelat food. And of course, okay, so in TCM, if let's say you have a very heaty body constitution, it's not very suitable. If let's say once in a while we take some 1 seed, 2 seed, it's fine. But once in a while, 1 seed, 2 seed, then tomorrow char kway teow, next day KFC, something can, you will take MC lah. You might easily get a lot of inflammation and, a fire. In TCM, you get you get some sore throat and also inflammations lah.
Okay, Ken, that's another way of looking at the durians. Now, any other questions? I think the gentleman at the back first. Comment has a question. Okay, Ken.
I'm not in a position to make comment. 2 questions. One is about berries. I learned from reading that berries, B-E-R-R-I-E-S, has high nutritional value. So you have raspberry, blueberry, all those berries that are very angmo kind, very expensive. So my question is, are there fruits that are equally nutritious like berries that we can replace from our local situation? Because berries are very expensive, right? So that's one question. The second question is about coconut. These days, there is a group of people who, vegan, I think, try to promote the eating of coconut oil and all those. From my knowledge, coconut has very high saturated fat. Is there a contradiction by these people who promote them? Is it safe to eat coconut oil to replace instead of butter and all those? Thank you.
Excellent questions. We'll answer the berries question first.
Okay, so in regards to the berries, so berries are actually quite high in antioxidants, and we do recommend berries, but also it's important to have a variety of different fruits in your diet. So like the different colors of fruits, making sure that you are getting different varieties of fruit every day, as in not just every day, but maybe throughout the week. Yeah.
It's more locally available.
Uh-huh.
For example, papaya. Papaya is
Yeah. Actually, you can just eat any fruit. It's still good. Yeah, in the sense of the fiber, the vitamins, the minerals. Unless, Gladys, you have anything you want to add?
The berries are colored. So it's really the intensity of the colors that you want to look at, and you want to have a variety. So if you cannot take berries, balsam berries, red berries, then you must make sure you take the apple with the red skin. You must take golden, what do you call it? The dragon fruit that's red color. So there are many fruits around. What we don't want people is to tell us that they take apple every day. You take the same apple from the same tree, from the same farm, the same country, you get the same fertilizer, the same pesticide poisoning. So nothing is bad, nothing is good, just take a variety. If you can afford the berries, only 1 packet a week, $3, okay lah. Right. I got $7 one, $3 go Giant. Okay, Giant. So I think that comes to the next point. Maybe I like to help to answer. It's about organic. Whether you have to take organic fruits or just regular fruits. Organic fruits has got no pesticide, but there's no evidence per se to really say that you must go organic. So there is a push for it, and it's very expensive. But if people are on weight reduction, we do keep quiet and let them take organic because it's so expensive. They only eat a little bit, which to us, we are okay with it, right? I see. But if you want to feed the family, then buy the cheap apple that is big and can share with more people better also. Your next question is coconut. Right?
Okay, so coconut, you're correct, is high in saturated fats. So we do not recommend coconut oils as the oil used for cooking. We still recommend to stick to things like canola oil, sunflower oil, olive oil, the healthier oils, rice bran oil also. Yeah.
The coconut oil is saturated fat, is correct. But if you go on a plant-forward diet where you're taking less meat, your saturated fats in totality already cut down. So it is ironical, we will actually say, okay, because you don't have the saturated fats from other sources, then okay, if you've got money to spend on coconut oil, can also, because you're feeding the Singapore economy, but not drink it as a coconut oil. I think that is a bit far-fetched. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Okay, good. Next one. Wait, I think it was on this side first. There was one question here. Somebody raised their hand. Don't have already, Okay, one more question. Okay, last question. Right? 3, 2, 1. Oh, sorry, this lady come first. We will try to answer the questions on the online as well. So,
okay, thank you. I want to thank Ms. Tan Zi Kiat for her TCM perspective regarding this whole food plan forward. I have a question because just now one of the slides, she went quite fast. So I want to ask about this slide where you have this 黄帝内经 Why the 5 thing and like 5 五果五菜还有一个五禽 What exactly is that?
So actually, last time when it's not so globalized, so in general, they encourage, for example, 五谷, they consider in grains in general, millet, sorghum, and then 五菜, and then all the different vegetables, allium, all this, and then green leaves, and also mushrooms, all these. So eat a variety. So it's not in specific which kind, it's a variety. And then because last time it's not so interconnected, so in this area will eat the food that they can find that's available. So now that we are now globalized, more transport, availability of food, it's just widely saying that, okay, your carbohydrates, your proteins, your fats, and then different kinds of nutrients you have to take in moderation. Yeah. Does it answer your question? Thank you so much.
okay, right. We've finished our Q&A session. So thank you very much for the 3 speakers with us today. In summary, I just want to include to say that from Healthier SG, remember we want to keep healthy, right? Okay. But if you move backwards, there is the part about the screening. The health screening is important as well. So while keeping healthy, you never know, you cannot choose your family, or what Dr. Anthony says. So it's still the regular screening that we have to go through, which your GP or the polyclinic will chase you after that. So please go for that. You got CHAS card, what color, Mendaka card, even cheaper discount. There's a reason why the government give that discount, because it's important to go for that screening. Then we actually go forward, is looking at plan forward. Now, Dr. Anthony also mentioned about how you have to define 3 top priorities in your life. Okay, remember, define the 3 top priorities in your life. Then she also go for 1. Choose 2 habits for the next 6 months. Hopefully, we hope through this forum that one of them is that you will try to go plant-based. Then maybe the one thing that you can do, 3, 2, 1, right, is go Meatless Monday, which is tomorrow. Meatless Monday, Okay, can. I'll pass on to Chu Xia now, who's going to take up for the rest of the session.
Thank you, Gladys. Yeah, we thank our speakers for the Q&A. Yeah, so moving forward, there are some questions on the Zoom. So because of the time constraint, we won't be able to answer the questions now, but you can stay tuned with KTPH Dietitians Instagram. So we will try to answer those questions by posting the answer there. Okay, so now we'll start with our cooking demo sessions. Yeah, we are very honored to have two participants to showcase their cooking skills with us. Yeah, so I think some of you might know that before that, we actually sent out a poster for healthy plant-based recipe creation. So we have collected about 20 plus recipe, and we also go through the recipe and see which one is healthier, better. So we have our judging criteria. So we judge those recipe. First, we look at whether they are fulfilling our theme, which is plant-based. They are using 8 or lesser ingredients, and we're looking at their nutritional content, presentation, creativity, and whether it is practical and easy to prepare the meal. Yeah, so yeah, these are the example of the recipe that we received. Yeah, so we thanks all the participants for submitting their recipes. Okay, so we have Helen go there, that she will showcase how to prepare this vegetarian chicken rice. So we have shortlisted 5 top winners. So 2 winners will be sharing today. Yeah, then we also have Shinwei. Yeah, she will teach us how to prepare fresh spring roll with air-fried tofu. Okay? Yeah. Then I'll pass to Serene to share some of the practical tips. Okay? Yeah, how we can prepare simple, healthy, plant-based diet. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so thanks, Xuxia. So when we will start the cooking demo soon, but first I just want to show you this. So this is just a guide to how you can eat out in a more plant-forward way. So on the top right, there are maybe the 4 easier to find plant-forward meals you can buy outside, like chapati and dal, bibimbap, you change for tofu, economic rice, you get 1 tofu, 2 veg, then tanda tea rice, ask them without ikan bilis. Okay, then also if you are just eating from like normal economic rice or nasi padang, you have the base. If you can get brown rice, that will be best. Then also choose 1 protein and limit the fried options and the gravies. Okay, then here are just a summary of the eating tips. So for fried food, as per Health Promotion Board guidelines, we want to limit to 2 servings per week. And 1 serving is not like 1 plate of fried food, but it's 1 small little spring roll or 2 small samosas. So that's already considered 1 serving of fried food. Okay. So for cooking at home, you can start with some simple swaps. Like if you are cooking like a stew or a curry, you can use some chickpeas instead of the meat. And then if you are stir frying some rice or noodles, you can replace it with tofu or tempeh. So what I like to do is I will cut the tau kwa up into pieces, and then I will air fry it so that there is more of a varied texture before stir frying it with the other ingredients and the noodles. Okay, so just a short bit about food waste. So actually in Singapore, food waste has increased by 20% over the past 10 years. And then actually every person wastes an average of 2 bowls of rice every day. So it's important for us to cut down by, for example, if there's an edible skin like apple or carrot or potato, you can eat the skin, where there's also more dietary fiber and vitamins. And then for, let's say you have vegetable scraps like the top of the carrot, you can boil it and use it to cook soup. Like you accumulate quite a number of carrot tops or like the base of the chai sim, then you put in the freezer. Then after a while, you can take it out to cook soup. And then this is one of the examples. Like if you don't really eat the broccoli stems, you can use it to make broccoli fries. And this recipe is found on our KTPH website. And then also making sure to store your food properly to prevent spoilage and nutrient losses. Okay, so here is our ebook. You can scan this QR code to get the link. And then it is also on our KTPH website if you want to find it next time.
Yeah, all the recipes in this ebook are actually contributed by our participants. Yeah. Okay. So now it's time for our participants to showcase their cooking. Yeah. So we have Helen and Xin Wei. Yeah. So we'll start with Helen first. Yeah. Okay. So Helen, so if you all want to move around, yeah, you are welcome. Okay. Or you can sit and watch from the screen. Yeah. So Helen, yeah, understand you will be preparing the chicken rice, right? Yeah. So would you like to introduce the ingredients?
It's the stock that we need to boil the water, and also this is lemongrass, slices of the gingers, and also the pandan leaf. So now we have to cut it.
This lemongrass you will boil it, is it? Yes. To make
the spices pack.
Spices pack.
I know that most of the times when you're cooking at home, y'all will only keep this part, right? Y'all will throw away this, but this is where is the aromas coming from?
So this recipe is for how many servings?
For 4 persons. The recipes books that I'm recipes that are actually written is actually for 4 packs. Okay, so what we do is that we put everything into the bag. Those that always think that plant-based very cooling, right? Then this is very suitable for them.
Oh, it's cooling. Because got ginger.
Yeah, got ginger. And also, if let's say at home, right, you can actually double the ingredients to get the soup. Then maybe part of the soup you can actually add some rock sugar. You can drink it as a tea.
Oh, as like nourishing the body.
Correct.
How much water do we need to boil this?
If let's say it's only for the chicken rice, you don't need a lot. Just enough water for to cover the rice. But then if let's say it is not, right, it is for your own consuming, then you can actually have more.
So instead of like using chicken stock, we use this lemongrass with ginger to flavor the rice. Yes. Yeah, so this is it one of your tips to make this chicken rice dish healthier?
Correct. Because we don't have the chicken stock.
Yeah, so usually
we cook the chicken with the chicken stock, right? Then there will be a lot of saturated fat.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so outside the chicken rice dish, like how they cook the rice, yeah, they use the chicken stock. So usually it's like quite high in fat, especially saturated fat, because they use the fats from the chicken meat. Yeah, then they add seasoning, so it's quite high in salt. Yeah, so you can see Miss Helen is using very natural ingredient, just lemongrass and ginger, and it's very fragrant. Yeah, 2 items only.
Yes.
3. Oh, 3 items. So pandan leaf, ginger, and lemongrass. Okay. Yeah. So what you are preparing now?
Is the chicken.
Okay, it's the chicken. Yeah. So which is the king oyster mushroom? Yeah. So it has the chewy texture.
Correct, because of the textures, that's why I choose this mushroom.
Is there any specific way to cut it?
No, depends on you just imagine that, when you put on the plate, it's about like always when you actually have the chicken size, the drumsticks, the size.
Yeah, so the presentations will be like the white chicken, yeah, and also the chewy texture.
What you do is that you use this to punch it, to make it flattened. So that's the spices, right? Or the fragrance of the soup that actually go into the mushroom.
So remember to pound the king oyster mushroom, make it flatten, yeah.
So basically, yes, correct. Fork will be different textures.
Oh, so one of the tips shared by Helen is use the knife to pound the king oyster mushroom instead of the fork, because the texture will be different.
Yes, later you will be to okay. I'll leave some for you to try over here. Yeah, then so that they can have the taste of it. They can see the difference. Even though if let's say you cut with your knife, right, it will be different textures as well.
Can I know like what kind of texture we would like to obtain from doing this action?
If not, right, if let's say you just cut, right, you can feel that I cut once for you to taste it later. I will cook it together with the soup later. You all will be able to see that it is like so artificial, doesn't look natural. Like when you're eating the meat, the texture is different. Oh, okay. I think it's boiling.
Okay. Are we boiling the mushroom inside also?
At home, you can just, peel this with, I show it to yours, with the knife. Just peel it, then steam it together with the chicken rice. You can peel it this way. Sorry,
Okay, so the back is done. Wow, it smells good. You won't smell, of course. Yeah, later we taste. Yeah, so mushroom is very high in fiber. Yeah, and also there are other vitamins and mineral inside. So if we're replacing the chicken with king oyster mushroom, it helps to increase our fiber intake. However, because just as shared by Shireen just now, mushroom is not a very good source of protein. Yeah, so maybe we can add some protein into this dish to make it a balanced meals.
Tofu or tempeh, yeah.
Okay, but the presentation why is
some maybe Chai Sing, yeah.
So it's a healthier version of vegetarian chicken rice. Yeah, so put the king oysters mushroom into the soup, okay, and then let the mushroom absorb all the flavors in, okay, yeah. So how do we know whether it's done, like boiling?
Yeah, let it take a while. No, it will not be. It will not turn soft.
Or any color changes?
No, no color changes as well, but experience.
Experience.
Usually it will string a bit, right?
Yeah, it will string a little bit.
How do you cook the rice?
Okay, hang on. Let me scoop out this first because need to make it cold first.
Oh, it's done? Yeah, so it's a very easy, quite quick.
I need to explain to them that's how to cook the rice. I prepare the rice in advance. Actually, I am using the same base actually to cook the rice. Yes, using the same soup base, which I already prepared it this morning. So what happened was, no.
Unless Helen open a store.
The Chinese, the vegetarian chicken store, right? Usually they put the mock meat or the taogi, yeah, the tofu skin. Yes, the textures is very different. So how to cook the rice is that I use the brown rice. Okay, so if let's say like usually it's like half a cup is for one person. If let's say it's 4 person, then you use full cup of rice. Then I fry it together. Then after that, that's it. Then after that, I transfer it into the rice cookers and add in this.
So you cook the rice first, then you fry it with olive oil, then put back into the rice cooker with this soup. Okay.
Just fry like, you know, that's when you do the dumpling. Yeah, just fry until you can smell the fragrance.
Sauce itself, right, have no taste.
No flavoring at all.
So no salt. No salt is added.
If you want to, you can add the salt, but I'm trying to reduce the sodium levels. The main flavoring is only the sauce that I'm going to use later, which is the low sodium soy sauce and also the vegetarian mushroom sauce. The 摘的蚝油 me oil.
So what is the next step? You are going to so we can reuse it as a soup to go with the chicken rice.
I will prepare the sauce.
Yeah, so now Helen is going to prepare the sauce. She put a bit of the sesame oil, some garlic, ginger. Yeah, some ginger. Yeah, she chopped the ginger into very small pieces. They are very fine. Yeah, smell very good. Yeah. Ginger always goes well with the sesame oil. Okay. So we stir fry until it turns brown, golden brown. Then we add in the vegetarian oyster sauce. Vegetarian oyster sauce. Then put a bit of light soy sauce. Okay. Yeah. So you can choose, when you buy the light soy sauce, you can look for the Healthier Choice logo, yeah, to look for the lower sodium. Okay. Then you mix all the ingredients together.
You hang on a minute.
No good.
No.
Okay, while Helen is preparing, maybe you can start the spring roll recipe. Okay. Cutting the king oysters mushroom, then maybe you can shift our attentions to the fresh spring roll.
Hello. Okay, so I'm here with Xin Wei, who is doing the fresh spring rolls. Do you want to introduce your ingredients?
Hi. So basically, this is basically red cabbage. Some people also call it purple cabbage. This is just your good old tau kwa from like NTUC and Sheng Siong. And this is cucumber, carrots. Carrots, I've cut it two different ways just for aesthetic purpose. And this is coral lettuce. This is tau kwa that's already been air fried. And this is butterfly pea flour. Yep. And this one is the rice paper that I will use for my rolls later. That's about it. By right, there's supposed to be vermicelli, but I forgot to bring today. I'm so sorry. Okay. Yep.
Okay, so what will you do first to start preparing?
Okay, so ideally you should start by preheating your air fryer first. So at 180 degrees lah. So I just preheat first. It will be a bit noisy. Okay, so while it's preheating, pretend we haven't cooked the tau kwa yet lah. So the tau kwa, make sure you drain it first so that there's sorry, my chopping skill not the best, but takai lah. So when you cut right the tau kwa, it will shrink a little bit when you air fry it. And for the air frying of the tau kwa, I don't need any oil actually, because the air fryer basket is non-stick. But if you are worried about it sticking, you can put baking paper to prevent it from sticking. Okay, so I need to wait until it's fully preheated first, then I'll put it inside. So I just set it aside first.
Oh, okay. Okay, so while you're waiting for the air fryer to preheat, okay. But first I want to ask, like, why you suddenly have this idea for this spring roll? Is this something that you normally do at home?
No, I don't have.
完全没有声音，哎有。
Aesthetically, it looks very nice.
Yes.
It is also quite healthy. But I will admit that if you just eat it on its own like that, it can be quite bland. So ideally, usually you should eat with sauce. To make it healthy, maybe you choose like a low sodium sauce. That would be much better.
This mic is better.
Oh, okay.
You have to. This mic. Okay, so you want to start assembling the ingredients?
Okay, can.
Okay.
So let's pretend the tau kwa is already cooked already lah. So first you will need a dish of water, shallow dish of water. That is, you're going to dip the rice paper in lah. And then I will also recommend having like a damp tea towel, so that later will be easier for rolling. Okay. maybe I just set this one aside first. Okay, so this is the rice paper. It's quite cheap lah. You can just get it from any supermarket. Whoops, sorry, this one is torn. I hope not all are torn. Okay. Wow, they're all torn. Okay, cool. So this one is the rice paper made from white rice. Okay, via tin sheet lah. So I will just dip it in water first. There are a few ways lah. Some people, they put the water in a spray bottle and then they spray directly onto the rice paper sheet after laying it on the chopping board. But I personally am very used to this method. And this part stop. Okay. So it will soften up as I go along lah. Okay. So, oops, sorry. So this one, the butterfly pea flower, is honestly purely for aesthetic purpose lah. Be careful just to use the petals. Don't use the bottom portion lah, because that one is not edible. I wash already all these all wash already. So have to wash first lah before you use. So I just put some just for color sake. Just rinse under water can already.
Where do you buy this butterfly pea flower from?
I'm fortunate that it grows in my father's garden for free. Okay, so then you take some of the coral lettuce. You go here. Actually, sorry, tau balik. Oh, actually it doesn't matter, both are all blue. Because later when you roll up, then it will look different. Okay, so I will start putting some of the ingredients in. So your carrot, your cucumber, as I mentioned by right, there's supposed to be vermicelli as well. So if you're going to put vermicelli inside, for healthier choice, you can use brown rice vermicelli lah. Yeah, instead of like your white rice vermicelli. Okay, I should also be putting this in, but I forgot to chop. I will chop later. Alright, I will do it for the second one lah. Okay, so you can see it's already very soft already. So you can just start rolling. So this part is torn, never mind. Then you just roll like this. So done. So if you want it to look prettier, then by right, the flower should be up here lah. Oops, sorry, this part torn. Okay, so like that lah, very simple. So, okay, I think the air fryer should be heated already. So if you're going to fry the tau kwa, right, I will just put this piece of baking paper just for extra safety lah. But actually, you don't really need it lah, because it's non-stick. So just to show you. Oops. Then you make sure you space them out in the air fryer lah. So I just put a few here. Then you can actually just air fry for a good like about 8 minutes will be sufficient already. Yeah. So I'll just demonstrate one more roll. Before that, let me chop the, the cabbage first.
Someone is asking.
Sorry. Yeah.
So they're asking how did you soften the red cabbage?
I didn't. I just pluck out, I put inside, and then become soft. Yeah, just put and wash.
Well, if you want, you can blend. If you want it to be maybe not so crunchy lah, not so hard, not so crunchy.
Yeah, I think this is more than enough. Okay, so I'll just set some aside here. Okay, so just to demonstrate another piece. So once again, you just dip inside the water. It will soften up quite fast. Okay, so you can do all sorts of patterns that you want. If you don't have blue pea flower, no problem. You can just like get carrot strips like that. And then your lettuce will be the background. Then you can take your red cabbage. Then your carrot, more carrots, and then your cucumber. And then lastly, your air fried tau kwa. Okay. Okay. Then, oh, that is tau kwa, air fried tau kwa. Okay. Okay, so basically it looks something like that. Like all different size. Oh, sure. Oops. Okay. Okay lah. So this inside. Nice. Okay, so you might want to check your tau kwa on and off lah, whether is it over fried. Okay, still fine. Yeah, so it's just like that, it's very simple. So on its own, as I was saying, frankly speaking, it's quite bland because there's no seasoning, no oil, no salt, nothing. So if you want it to be a bit more palatable, then you should serve it with some soy sauce, low sodium soy sauce to be a bit healthier lah. Yeah.
You seem so good at doing this cooking demo thing.
No.
Have you done this before?
No.
Okay, good.
Tau kwa. Tau kwa. So this one you put inside, then come out look like that. Yeah. What's the color of this for? That is just for looks lah, for aesthetics. Yeah.
Okay, Helen also have prepared the dish. Yeah, she has cut the king oyster mushroom. Yeah, so this is the final product. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so if you want to take a look, you can come here later. Yeah, so due to the time constraints, we would like to close the sessions with prize giving sessions and also present the token appreciations for the top 5 winners for the plant-based cooking, the recipe creation competitions. So we would like to have Gladys to present the prize for our winners. Yeah, so one of the winner is Lim Shi Pei. Shi Pei, where is Shi Pei?
Lim Shi Pei.
你在哪里? Not come.
Okay, we'll
Not around. Then we go to the next.
We'll go to the next one. Yes.
Okay, then the other top 5 is red bean soup from Yona Liu. The winners are not in sequence lah, okay? Yeah. Then the next one is mushroom herbal soup noodles from Grace E. Grace is not coming today. Yeah. Okay, then next. Next, we have Helen. Okay. Yeah. Yes, one for participations and the other one for live demo. Thank you, Helen. And then the other one is Sim Wei. Yeah. Yeah. We thank all the participants for their participations, their creativities, and contributions, okay, for our cooking recipe creations competitions, okay. So we would also like to present token of appreciations for our speakers. Yeah, so Dr. Anthony. Okay. Ms. Tzu Kiet. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's all for our prize giving sessions. Yeah, so we appreciate your feedback. Yeah, so please scan the QR code and share with us your feedback for today's event. Yeah, and we will also like to advertise that you can go to KTPH Dietitian Instagram for any health information, and also stay tuned for the Q&A on the live. And we also had a hotline called Dietitians, 938-22-983, okay? So if you have any nutrition-related questions, you can call this number during office hours, Monday to Friday, okay? Yeah. Okay, and for next month, our health talk will be on keep active, stay healthy. Okay, so we also have three speakers. Okay, and they will talk on about the activities. Then you can also scan the QR code to register yourself for next month events. Yeah, or you can walk in. Okay. Yeah, it will be on 16th of July. Okay, same place. Okay. Okay, that's come to the end of our program today. Yeah, we thank you for all your participations and coming to here to join us during this Sunday. Yeah, hope you all enjoy today's event and learn a lot of practical tips. Yeah, and for those participations, yeah, continue to create more healthy and creative recipe. Yeah, then hope you all also can do more home cooking at home. Okay, happy Sunday. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.